What's going on, everyone? It's Corey here from the Breakevens, giving you another AFL Supercoach video this week. Round 4 done. All the early buys done. Um, rough time for the flock of gulls. Um, Big rank drop this week. Played it a little bit risky and didn't quite work out, even though I think after Friday night we were looking pretty good, but then got hit Saturday and Sunday pretty hard. Um, so panic stations at the flock of gulls. Um, but in saying that, we're still doing half decent in NRL, if that means anything to anyone. Um, what do we have going on today? So we'll go through my team trades, my thinking there, everything to do with that. Then I'll talk about DPP. I've got a few DPP players that we need to keep an eye on that I think is super coach relevant. And then we will go through some player break evens and then the VC and C. At the end, we won't go through any player heat maps today, just because I don't think there's anyone that we should be looking at their heat maps at the moment. And there is some big injury news. I'll actually run through that after I tell you where you can find me on social media. So you can find me on social media at X at Breakevens Pod, or on Facebook, the Breakevens. And of course, here on YouTube, like the video and subscribe to the channel for weekly AFL Supercoach videos. Injuries. Number one, Will Day is out for 3 to 4 months with a fractured foot. Those who were hoping to hold Will Day, good fixture. Gonski. Nathan O'Driscoll. Oh, it's the small ankle roll. He'll be fine. 4 to 6 weeks. Cinders Moses gone. Luke Jackson Hemi gone. Who was the other one? Isaac Rankin is in doubt for this round. Not quite gone, but is in doubt. And the big one, this guy, done his hammy on the weekend. Scans to come, but not looking good. So those are the big injury news this round, which will make us change our trades. And I did have to change my trades a little bit. So we'll go into that now. So I'll quickly flick over and we'll talk all about that. All right, here we have it. 1829. I've been pretty consistent in the 1800s over the buys, which isn't great. I've gone from, what was I? I think I was 13K last week, or no, a couple weeks ago, to 33K this week. Not great. 1829 below par there, as you can see. The average was 1952. And I'm well below that. So things need to change. But if you look on the right side, I won a few draft leagues. All of them but one, which I just lost by. Draft. Yay. But for standard, not great. We are coming back after this week. So I just realized I haven't reversed my trade. So I'll quickly do that and then I'll run you through the side. But obviously, very disappointing week last week. So here we have it, last week's team. So I had 210 left in the bank. And yes, I'm using a third boost, 3 in a row. Has to be done. So let's run through the team. So Dane Zorko as captain, I was saying all week, he's the safest captain. He's going to be good. 94. Frustrating as hell. He was on like 36 or something at quarter time and just went quiet till the end of the last quarter where he got a few extra points. So very unlucky there. Harry Sheasel, 144, moved back to the halfback and was seagulling it up. I watched the first half because I was able to. And within the first 10 minutes, I'm like, Sheasel is back. He was marking the ball, getting a kick, running, getting the hands, kicking again. Or even Caleb Daniel was kicking out to Sheasel. He'd mark it, and then he'd give it back to Daniel. And it's like two birds, one stone. It was great to see. Will he keep that up? We're not quite sure. We have Foss, so Finn O'Sullivan, back this week for North Melbourne, and George Wardlaw fit to go as well. So what does that mean for Sheezel? We'll have to wait and see. But 144 was very happy with that. Jordan Clark, 101. He's just very consistent player, very happy. Roberts, 77, bit disappointing and a little bit worrying. Still averaging 102, but his role seems to have changed. And I think that's because Lloyd's gone back on the halfback and less on the wing. I'm going to hold this week, have a good look at his role. Maybe that is someone we do a quick heat map on today. But yeah, 77 disappointing. Joel Frazier, I got him in, not expecting hundreds. I was, expecting 80, 85s, make some cash. And he hasn't really done that for me. My plan was to get him in, make some cash, and then get him out for Callum Mills, who was expected back this round, but he's out for another month. So that was that. Zach Reed obviously had the bye, and Richmond played first, and Trainer got 82. And I was like, look, Bice, he's going to go around that 80 to 90. So, it's not worth the risk. So I took Trainer's 82, which I'm very happy with. But Riley Bice, as you can see, absolutely dominated and scored 124. So that hurt. Those who had him on field definitely won. So, yeah, defense sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. Midfield, this is the weakest part of my team, and that's crazy to say. The midfield is the weakest part of my team. So Lachie Neale returned the form like we thought this week of 130. Very happy there. Connor Rosie, 76, got a tag and was basically stuck up forward trying to break the tag. No good. Adam Chera, 99, was stiff not to get 100, but he looks good. He just spends so much time on the bench. Bossy, get him on. Clary Oliver, 98. Finn Callahan, 72. So with Oliver and Callahan, we're seeing drops because their disposal efficiency is terrible. Terrible. Callahan, if what I think he went like 58% or something this week. It was terrible. Would have been probably a ton if he did a bit better. So that's hurtful. Nathan O'Driscoll, injured, 46, not great. Levi Ashcroft bounced back for 87. And Henderson, I knew he was probably going to drop out there. So a 32. And Lindsay and Nevitt both injured. Nevitt is fit to go this week, so should be back, hopefully not as the sub. Lindsay is a test as well. So wait for teams there. And Camporeale, as they say, did not play. We move to the rucks. Gorn 122 and DeConning 101. Gorn 122 was back. We thought he would score higher in that game. And DeConning, he just can't run out 4 quarters at the moment. Pitternet is fit, so what's going to happen there? Just keep an eye because Pitternet is fit. Harry Boyd didn't play either. Forward line, McRae got 100. Smith, 108 as the vice captain. Hindsight, probably should have taken it. Caleb Daniel, 92. We'll take it. He's still averaging 101. Humpty Dumpty scored a 64. Roll change. It looked like took a few more CBAs, which really hurt him there. It was against Adelaide, which is a harder matchup. So I'm going to wait and see how he responds this week against a weaker side. He's got a few good matchups coming in the next couple of weeks. Ryan Marriage, everyone was like, oh, McGovern's out, he's going to blah, 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 blah. 88. I saw this man stand at the very edge of the goal square, take one step out and kick the ball across goal just to play on and go across. That is super coach gold. I love to see it. And if anyone else picked that up, let me know down in the comments. But that is what we want. We want this guy taking kickouts. And as long as 1 foot steps out of that goal square, he can kick it wherever he wants. Just make sure you take that step, which he did. Sam Davidson, a 54. Look, we're not expecting 130s each week. That wing roll, it's going to be up and down. So look, I'll definitely take it. He's making his cash. Kako and Hewitt. So Kako had the buy and Hewitt is injured. And Hasty, the sub again, 38. He scores so well. So he scored 38 basically in a quarter. Imagine if he played a full game like round one. He played 3 quarters and he was on like 70 super coach, but then he got subbed. Let the kid play, Ross. Let the kid play. So trades. That's my team. Look, my theme this year is sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. And each and every week, that's been my team. So we need that to change. We need to always very good, rarely shit. So weak points. Midfield's obviously a weak point. Fraser is a weak point. And my rookies are a weak point, especially my midfield rookies. So what am I going to do? This is what I'm going to do. I want to trade Fraser. Boom. Fraser is gone. Just because that role is not suiting him, that's fine. O'Driscoll, also bad. Gone. And who was my last one? Elijah Hewitt. Gone. Injured. He's gone. So we'll start in defense. Who am I going to bring in? I can bring in anyone. Anyone I want. So let's filter for defense. Defenders. Right. You got Jack Bob Sinclair there, averaging 130, absolutely insane. 3-round average of 141 as well. Zorko I already have. Lockie Whitfield averaging 124. Very tempted here. Bailey Dale, I'm not going near. Himmelberg, no. Messiah, 110. Is that cheaper option for Sinclair if you wanted to go there? I just think he doesn't have the ceiling. Max Holmes, who's getting tagged a bit. Carl Amon, and you're getting into some rough seas. Sicily, playing a bit forward. Luke Ryan had his one spike score there. Zach Guthrie's been pretty consistent, but you're not going there. You want someone who's, going to be top 6. So I'm going Lockie Whitfield. It was between him and Zorko last week, and I took Zorko just because of the fixture that he has. It is better than GWS's. Obviously, 148 to 94. You do the math. That's 54 points difference. So that hurts. But with Mills going out, Fraser had to be upgraded. So I would have got Zorko this week anyway. So that's all good. So Whitfield comes in. We'll move to the forward line. Get off defenders, put on forwards. Now, obviously, this is a downgrade. So we will put here, we'll go by break evens because that's what we're here for. Isaiah Dudley has a negative 69 break even at 99k basement price. Plays Richmond this week. Erasmus, I'm probably not going near. Archer Reed's made some money, so there's no point really going there. He's made 50k. Lance Collard's going to be up and down. Payton not bringing back in. Max Hall, it's too late. So I think I've only got one option. Isaiah Dudley comes in to the side, which leaves me with $349,000 for a midfielder. So we'll go mid, players I can afford. I do not want to go by break even anymore. Round 4 summary. So we'll go via average. So Josh Ward averaging 92.3. Will Day out, Warple still out. Ward could see a big jump. Clay Hall, 129K. He's doing pretty well, averaging 78. Has a low break even as well. But I just feel his job security isn't quite there. So I'm staying clear of Clay Hall. Thompson down, not going near. Same with CJ. Murphy Reed's made too much money now. And basically, it's just people not going to go. Sam Laylor, no. Toby Travalia is on the bubble, averaging 67.5 in his 2 games, has a low break even, which we'll get into soon. But I don't like his role. So we're bringing back an old friend, Elijah Sardis, which leaves me with 157,900. Broken wrist. We'll just complete that. Broken wrist, had 1 week off. Then they had the bye, which was perfect. Yes, I want to confirm that. And he's back this week. Jai Caldwell's out for 4 to 6 weeks with a hammy. Darcy Parish is getting some minutes in the VFL, so he's still probably a couple weeks away. So Sardis has that midfield role. I think he's going to get more game time unless Scott, unless Brad Scott keeps shutting this man down. If we look at his scores quickly, we'll go season stats. Got a negative 13 break even. So a 50 against Hawthorn was disappointing. Then a 78 against Adelaide, who are a tough match up in that midfield. With a broken hand, he scored 78. He now has Melbourne, who give away points. He has West Coast to give away points. He has Collingwood who gives away points. North Melbourne who can give away points. And then you got Sydney a bit harder, Bulldogs a bit harder. Then you get Richmond, and then things start to get hard. Sardis is in. He's in there. So how am I going to line up? Riley Bice is coming on, no doubt about it. The man goes on. Hopefully he doesn't get injured. You got Sardis on there, I'm happy with. Now, doing those trades means I have to hold Rosie and Callahan. I'm happy to hold Chera and Oliver because they're scoring around 100 at the moment. Yes, they're not going to make a big amount of cash. Oliver has that ceiling. Chera, if he has more game time, can go 120. So Callahan and Rosie, they're going to lose money, unfortunately. I got 157K left in here. Hopefully, I see a spike game from one of them. I'm hoping it's Callahan. I'm backing him in to have a spike game against St Kilda. But Rosie is definitely one who's probably going to have to go. And I'm going to get a big midfielder in. That's the plan. So looking for a spike game there. Now, obviously, you see all these injuries. Well, Sardis is back. Lindsay is a test, and Nevitt's good to go. So I'm guessing one of Lindsay and Nevitt will be back. So in saying that, let's just say Nevitt's probably more likely. So I have Henderson that can go to the bench. Here I'm going to have Davidson on field. Dudley, Freo playing Richmond, so I think he's got a higher scope to do well rather than Kako against Melbourne. So that's there. And if Lindsay plays, it's nice and simple. He goes to the flex. If he's not, then I have to make a decision. Does Henderson play well against Essendon? Or do I risk Hasty as the sub? So Henderson will probably replace Lindsay if he doesn't play. So that's how the team's going to look like. Zorko, Whitfield, Sheasel, Clark, Roberts, and Bice. What did I do there? I think I clicked Roberts accidentally. So if we're looking at the team, I'm happy with my backline because we have guys making cash. Once this loads, I've been pressing too many buttons at once. Laptop can't hack it. All right, it's finally loaded here for me. So I'm pretty happy with this backline at the moment. Robert's the only one that's 50-50, and I've got Trainer, Reed, and Bice who are going to make some good money. Midfield is where it's stuffed. So Neil is the only mainstayer. Ashcroft, Sardis, Nevitt. We've got Lindsay there who's going to make some good cash. These guys are going to be some slow burns. So need to upgrade around here. So that's the big problem. Gorn and TDK here. I'm happy with Gorn. TDK, what's going to happen with Pitternet? So there's a question mark there, but for now I'm happy. And then I'm happy with the forwards just because Humphrey and Marriage going to make me some money. We've got some DPPs, which I'll get into in just a second. So they're going to make some money, easy upgrades. There, Davidson's making some great cash. Kako and Dudley will probably be some slow burns, but they're still going to make cash. And Lindsay, when he's back, should make some good cash as well. So I'm happy with everything except for the midfield, which I'm going to start to fix next week. And I think that's why I'm using my third boost, just so I can put myself in that position. So next week, one of Rosie or Callahan will be going up to a primo. So DPP. I've got 6 names here of people who potentially could be getting DPP or definitely are getting DPP. So first up is Christian Petrarca. Has played 43% forward time, which means unless things drastically change, he will be getting DPP. So let's go to players and let's have a look at Petrarca. Is definitely someone we need to look at. So I'll go to filters and type in Petrarca. Averaging 87 at 495k at the moment versus Essendon. So there could be a spike score coming. But as a break even 125, if he goes to 81, he's losing another 19k. Let's look at his stats so far this season. 98 in round 1, 78, 80, 92. So pretty average. His week's coming up. Essendon could see a good score there. Freo might be a bit tougher, but then you get into Richmond or West Coast. So I'm looking to get him around here at, hopefully around 450, 420, 450k for these games here. And then hopefully he gets some confidence into some more midfield time. So definitely someone to keep an eye out there. Next one is Took Miller, which I think is less likely at 28%, but has played 28% forward. I can't spell Miller. Averaging 121, which is a surprise at 566k. 28% forward. Looks like he got a bit of a boost. So we will have a look at that. But I went 128, 127, 108. So he started on fire. North and Richmond next to. Then it gets a bit harder. Sydney, Brisbane, Bulldogs, Hawthorn. So unfortunately, if you didn't start Talk, you've missed out on these points, and you only got 2 weeks left, so it's probably a wasted trade there. And with 28% forward time, he's probably not getting um, that forward DPP. Now, next is Bailey Humphrey with 31%. We know he's been playing mid, so he'll become a forward midfielder. He's still under the 35%, so you have to be 35% during this time, 31. So he's probably not going to get DPP unless something changes this week. So probably, if you didn't jump on Humphrey a couple of weeks ago, you're probably not jumping on him now. Zach Merritt has played 31% forward. Now, this is an interesting one. Again, 31% means there has to be a big change this week. I don't see that happening, but there is a world out there where Zach Merritt is a forward option at 608K, averaging 113. 31%, it's not a drastic change, but for Essendon coming off a bye, you think he'd just play pure midfield. So let's have a look at his scores: 89, a 145, and a 106. It's got Melbourne, West Coast. He usually scores well. Same with Collingwood. Then he's got North Melbourne, and then things get a little bit harder. And then one good game, one bad game, one good game, one bad game. Definitely someone to get for the run home, just because we know how good he is after the bye. So Zach Merritt, potential forward, but highly unlikely. Next is Harry Sheezel, 55% mid-time. We sort of expected this to happen. Averaging 105 after that big 144. Playing back on halfback, but because he's played 55%, it does not matter. He's guaranteed mid DPP, which would be good for the buys. He's gone 106, 81, 89, and 144. With Gold Coast, Carlton, Port, Essendon, and then this middle part and slightly towards the end of the season, he's got better fixtures. So at 573K, he's lost 62K. What's his break even this week? I still think it's 111. So keep an eye on that, but he will have midfield DPP. And the last one is Chad Warner. Warner does not start with a Q. Chad Warner averaging 92 at the moment, 524K. Has played 37% forward, and with a big break even here as well. Could drop under 500K if he has a really poor game. He does usually play well against Collingwood, though, which is a bit concerned, but he is playing forward. He went 115 round one, 78, 122, 54. So sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. And that is in line with Collingwood, sometimes maybe good, and then shit. So 37% forward might be a sneaky chance, but we'll see how Sydney want to play it. So really, out of those, Petrarca and Warner interest me the most as both forwards, just because we know how well they can score once, they have a role change. So just keep an eye. There are a few other names there. Like the rookies are obviously going to get DPP. So Ashcroft will be a forward. Murphy Reed will get forward. Anyone else here that I can quickly look at? Not at the moment. So just looking, Laird as a defender, Sam Lawler as a forward. And that's about it that I can think on the top of my head. So what to now? Let's head over to DFS Australia and look at some VC and C options. You know what? I'll do the break evens first. So you can quickly look at this while I run through the break even. So as always, we'll start with the rookies and then we'll go into the prices. And Primo, so the rookie break evens, Riley Bice has a negative 98 break even. So cash, plenty of cash there. Clay Hall, negative 78. Isaiah Dudley, as we saw before, negative 69. Trainer with a negative 51. Neil Erasmus, negative 49. Archer Reed, negative 40. Lucas Camporeale, if he comes back, negative 40 as well. Moraes was a big pickup last week, negative 37. Travalia comes in negative 32, and Sam Davidson is the same, negative 32. Ben Patton, can he come back in with a negative 30? Zach Reed, negative 26, and Murphy Reed, negative 24. Connor O'Sullivan keeps smashing out big scores with negative 19. Max Hall, negative 19. Elijah Sardis is back with a negative 13. Jackson Pryor, negative 11. And Sam Lawler, after the big game, negative 8. Harvey Langford, negative 8 as well. Dan Curtin, negative 2. And Ted Clowacy, negative 2. And Hanley from the Swans with a 4 break even. Constantine from the Kangas is 6. Elijah Hewitt, who's injured, with a 9. Isaac Kako with a break even of 12. Sam Pepper, break even of 20. Hasty with a break even of 23. Just needs to be given a chance. Connor Stone at 24. Levi Ashcroft at 26 break even. Henderson from the D's at 29. Xavier Lindsay coming back, hopefully, with a 29 as well. You'd expect that to go down unless he's the sub. Mitch Nevitt at 31. Nathan O'Driscoll at 36, but now we know he's out for 4 to 6 weeks. Corey Warner at 36 as well. Tyrrell Dewar at 36 from West Coast. And Finn O'Sullivan at 38. Now we move to the mid prices and primos. Ryan Marriage a negative 19. James Peatling a 6. No Matt Crouch last week. Scored big. Ranking out this week. Does Crouch stay out one more? Can we see a spike score? Hugo Garcia a 9. Bailey Humphrey an 18. Caleb Daniel a 26. Luke Parter a 30. Sam Darcy, who's absolutely lighting things up, has a break even of 36, and same with Will Ashcroft. Bowie from the D's with a 51. Horn Francis went big with a 62. Baz Smith is 71. Kieran Briggs is back with a 77. SDK is 78. Jack McRae, 88. Andy Brayshaw, 91. Adam Chera, a 92. Matty Roberts, a 93. And Naziah Wanganeen Miller with a 97. Jack Sinclair, 103. Caleb Sarong, 107, along with Lockie Whitfield with 107. TDK, 108. Clary Oliver, 109. Harry Sheasel, 111. Same with Will Day, but he's out for 3 to 4 months. Jordan Dawson, 113. Zach Merritt, 114. Isaac Rankin, 115. Joel Frazier, 115, so he needs to go. Luke Ryan, 118. Same with Max Holmes. Matty Rao, 124. Tom Green, 124. Christian Salem, 124. Tom Liberatore, 124. Petrarca, 125. Nick Dacos, 130. Jordan Clark, 130. Noah Anderson, 134. Max Gorn, 136. Finn Callahan, 137. Bailey Dale, 137. Chad Warner, as we saw before, 138. Dane Zorko, 141. Josh Dunkley, 143. Lockie Neal, 145. LDU, 147. Rowan Marshall, 160. Tom Stewart, it could be an interesting one to bring in a couple of weeks, to 163. Connor Rosie, 166. And Tristan Sherry with 179. So a lot of numbers there. Make sure you go back and listen to it a couple of times if you've missed anyone. But those are all the most relevant DPPs, in my opinion, there. So with that done, let's get into these VCs and Cs quickly. So as always, I've got the fixtures here and we will run through it all. So gather round, it's in Adelaide. So all games are in Adelaide this week, which should be quite interesting. So let's go here. We've got Adelaide and Geelong in the first game. So let's go straight for inside mids. Thank you for the ad DFS. Inside mids, Adelaide against Geelong. So Jordan Dawson could be a good option here. And Pete Lean if Crouch or Rankin are out. And again, Rankin a good option here as well. Geelong have Adelaide, who are a tougher team. And also another one there is Saligo, who's playing really well. So Geelong against Adelaide, a bit tougher of a matchup. So really, a Jordan Dawson is probably my option here in that game. Um, we don't really need to go designated kickers or a ruck. Those with SDK. Reece Stanley did play last week though, but let's just have a quick look. It's a good matchup for Adelaide, obviously, and then a tough matchup for Geelong. Obviously, it's Rob. So that's that. Next game on the Friday is Collingwood versus Sydney. So we're going straight to inside mids. Collingwood have Sydney, it's a 50-50, and Sydney have Collingwood, which is a 50-50. So obviously, your Heaney's, your Dacos's probably going to score well in this game. Chad Warner could see a spike game here. Um, we'll have a look at designated kickers. Another ad. Lovely. Haven't seen this many ads. There must be a change. We've got Matt Roberts here. So Sydney against Collingwood, it's a 50-50 and same. So it's basically a 50-50 game here. Probably not looking into any rucks. So you've got Dacos and Heaney in this game, in my opinion. North versus the Suns. Designated kickers will stay here because we have Caleb Daniel and Harry Sheasel. So North Melbourne against Gold Coast, there is a boost here. So obviously, Gold Coast maybe a little bit more of an inaccurate team. So that's really good there. And North are a 50-50 side. So designated kickers, we could see spike games. Go inside mids. That's the big one because obviously Wits against Sherry, it's going to be a tough matchup. So Gold Coast against North, it's a 50-50 there. And North, Gold Coast give up points. LDU, Sheasel if he plays in there. There's options here on the Saturday. Could be a game that you could target. I think if you have a Sheasel or a Daniel, you're probably targeting there. Inside mids, Suns aren't the greatest away team, but you got Anderson around there who can go crazy. Next up is Carlton versus the Eagles. So look at inside mids. Carlton, West Coast give up points, which is what we thought, and Carlton give up points here as well. We're not going to have any West Coast players, let's be honest, unless it's Ryan Marriage. So we will look at that. But Carlton inside mids, you've got Chera, Walsh, Hewitt, Cripps. Could see a bit of a spike here. Now, what we do want to see is the rucks. Obviously, you see West Coast and you think pretty easy matchup. So, yes, as expected. And we know that the Conin does give up some points as well. So, for rucks, this is good. Does Pitnet come back? That is the big question. If Pitnet is not back, you could slap a big VC on a Tom DeConning. We'll move to designated kickers because we do have Ryan Marriage here. West Coast against Carlton, it's a 50-50, and West Coast give up points for those wondering for Carlton. So probably TDK here is the way to go. If you don't have TDK and you have one of those Carlton midfielders, you could take a bit of a risk. But I took a risk last week with Bailey Smith, vice captain, didn't work when I should have had Zorko. So Bulldogs versus the Lions. We'll look at designated kickers because we have Zorko and Dale. So Brisbane versus the Dogs give up a few points here, and Brisbane are a 50-50 side. We know how inaccurate the Doggies can be, but Sam Darcy's kicking almost everything. So should be a good game there for Dane Zorko. As we move to the inside mids, Bulldogs are 50-50 and Brisbane 50-50 as well. So, in games like this, your Libbers, your Neils, your Dunkleys, they're going to score well. All right. One of them's going to go off. So you could always have one there. Looking at the rucks, Big O and English, you're probably not looking there. So Melbourne versus Essendon, which is a very important one here. So Essendon against Melbourne, the midfield give up points. So your Zach Merritt, your Sardis, it's a good matchup. Sardis could go off here. Obviously, he's not a VC or C option, but he could score well. Zach Merritt could get off the chain. And Essendon have been a 50-50 side. So you've got Durham in there. You've had Caldwell. Caldwell out. What happens there? So keep an eye on those Melbourne guys. We will look at the rucks and we won't look at designated kickers um, just because I don't think there's a lot of people with Ridley or Redmond out there. So, rucks, Melbourne, as we know, is a tough side, and so is Essendon. They've been very restrictive the last 2 seasons, Essendon. So probably not going on a Max Gorn who hasn't been in the greatest form. Played well last week, but that was expected against Geelong. So Richmond versus Freo. Now Luke Jackson's out, which means Sean Darcy could be a big in here. So we will look at that because I know some people might go TDK to Sean Darcy. So Richmond, Nank the Tank gives up points. And then so do Freo. So Nank and Darcy could score well here. Obviously, Darcy in makes it a bit harder for Nank, but is Darcy a little bit underdone? We're not sure. We'll look at designated kickers because we have Jordan Clark there. And look, Jaden Short, if you still have Jaden Short. Freo, Richmond give up a whole lot of points, and Freo do not. So you've got something there. And then we'll look at inside mids. So expect a spike game here from your Jordan Clark types. Richmond, the midfield, Sarong, Brayshaw, they're going to go off. And Freo 50-50, no one's got Richmond midfielders. So Sarong's, Brayshaw's, Jordan Clark's are really good options in this game. St Kilda versus the Giants. GWS, St Kilda are a tough team, which is fair enough. They've been so good this season. Jack's still potentially back as well. And GWS are a hard team to score. So we look at designated kickers because we've got Lockie Whitfield, you've got Nazaya, Jack Sinclair. So GWS, St Kilda are a 50-50 side, and GWS are a tough side. So probably not seeing a huge spike game out of Nazaya or Sinclair. And Lockie Whitfield, probably not, but he can go off at any given day there. So apart from that, we'll have a quick look at the rucks because I know some people might bring in Briggs, and some people might have Romo. So St Kilda are a tough matchup, and GWS have given away some points as of late. So Romo potentially a spike score there. And the last one is Port Adelaide versus the Hawks. We're just going pure inside mid. Will Day's out, so your Butters and Rosie types. So Hawthorn against Port, tough, restrictive side, and Hawthorn is the same as well. So tough fixtures this week. I actually don't know what I'm going to do. So go over to my team. What am I looking at here? Adelaide and Geelong. So I'm probably not going Bailey Smith. Collingwood and Sydney. I don't really have anyone there. North Melbourne, Gold Coast. I'm probably not going on that game. Carlton Eagles. So the VC very well could go on Tom DeCon in there. Dogs and Lions. I've got Neil. D's and Essendon. I've got Gorn. I don't like that. Richmond Dockers. I have Clark. St Kilda Giants. I've got Whitfield and Port Hawks. I'm not going Rosé. So I think DeConning probably into a Whitfield or a Neil. Are they going to tag? Let's go back here for a second. I want to see if this is accessible. DFS. Now they have a new tagging summary. This is what we want to look at. Do the dogs tag? So going off that, we want to go to the dogs to see who they have tagged. So they've only tagged Nick Dacos. Has Brisbane tagged any Bulldogs players? The Bond by Jared Berry, Jack Still tagged by Berry as well. So, all right, looking at that, probably not a tag coming. So it's either DeConning into Neil or Whitfield. I think he's my safest bet. I'm unsure though. I'll have to look into it a little bit deeper, but it's definitely where I'm looking at the moment. And that is my side heading into round 5. And that's going to do it for today's video. So went through a lot there. DPP is after this round. I forgot to mention that at the start, but after this round is DPP. So things change after this round. So keep an eye out who gets DPP. I believe on Code Sports, if you are subscribed, you can search up any player. So if you want to know the DPP percentages of any player, let me know down in the comments or on X at Breakevens Pod or on Facebook, the Breakevens. Let me know and I'll get you the numbers as soon as I can. But that's it. That's what I'm sort of feeling with the team, trying to return back to form, start seeing those green arrows. Haven't seen it for 2 weeks. Let's see it again this week. So good luck to you all in round 5, and I'll be back with another video for you next week. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, it's bye for now.